Man tries to save drowning baby elephant, but then the herd does something unexpected. A muddy riverbank stretches out before Jake, the mid-afternoon sun glaring down on the African savanna. His boots sink into the soft earth as he walks along the familiar landscape. But today isn't like the days he's spent here before. The birds in the trees seem quieter, the air heavier, almost like the land itself is holding its breath. Something is off. As Jake approaches the river, he spots something thrashing in the water. His eyes narrow, and he steps closer, drawn by the erratic splashing. At first, he can't quite make out what it is. Then it hits him. A baby elephant, stuck in the deep mud, struggling to keep its head above water. Its small trunk flails wildly, and its terrified cries echo across the empty savanna. Jake pauses. He knows better than most how dangerous elephants can be, especially when young calves are involved. He's seen it firsthand, but today there's no weapon slung over his shoulder, no rifle in his hand. He watches the calf fight for its life, and before he even realizes what he's doing, Jake is moving toward the water. The current is stronger than he expected, pulling at his legs as he wades in. His clothes soaking instantly. The calf, too exhausted to fight, lets out one more panicked cry as it slips deeper. Jake lunges forward, grabbing the small elephant by its side. The weight is overwhelming, and for a moment he wonders if they're both going to be dragged under. But he digs his heels into the mud and pushes with everything he's got. The calf kicks wildly, its eyes wide with fear. It's a struggle, every muscle in Jake's body burning as he fights to keep both of them from going under. The river pulls at him, but he doesn't let go. Slowly, inch by inch, he pushes the young elephant toward the safety of the shore. Just as Jake thinks he might have a chance, a sound stops him cold. A low rumble in the distance. He freezes. The herd is coming. Jake struggles to maintain his balance, the river pushing against him with every step. The baby elephant is heavier than he imagined, its slick skin making it hard to keep a grip. Water surges around them, threatening to drag them both down. Jake's muscles ache as he fights to keep his calf's head above the surface. The calf lets out weak, desperate cries, and Jake grits his teeth, determined not to give up. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. Finally, after what feels like hours, his feet find solid ground under the muddy water. The current slows and Jake manages to push the young elephant closer to the bank. The calf stumbles but moves with him, exhausted but alive. His heart pounds as they reach the shore. He watches the calf collapse on the muddy edge, gasping for breath, its small body trembling with exhaustion. But before Jake can even catch his breath, the low rumble returns, closer now. He turns and his blood runs cold. In the distance, a massive herd of elephants is approaching. The ground trembles beneath their heavy steps, and the matriarch is leading them, her eyes locked on him. Jake knows exactly what they think. To them, he's not a rescuer, he's a threat. The memory of his past actions, the hunts, the ivory, the fear, floods back into his mind. Elephants don't forget. He looks at the calf, now safe on the shore, but far too weak to move. Then back at the herd, they're closing in fast, their heavy trunks swinging as they pick up speed. There's no mistaking the anger in their eyes, the protective instinct ready to explode at any moment. Jake feels a knot tighten in his stomach. The matriarch lets out a deep, thunderous trumpet. Jake freezes, his pulse racing. He knows he's out of options. The herd spreads out, circling him, their eyes fixed on the man standing next to the baby. Jake takes a slow step back, his breath coming in short gasps. The matriarch's steps quicken, her enormous form barreling toward him. The ground shakes beneath her charge, and Jake can feel the tension in the air. This might be it. The ground rumbles as the herd charges closer. Jake stands frozen, his body tense, knowing there's no way to outrun them. The matriarch, the largest elephant Jake has ever seen, is leading the charge. Her tusks gleam in the sunlight, and her massive feet slam into the ground like thunder. The rest of the herd follows her, surrounding Jake and the baby elephant, their eyes filled with fury and suspicion. Jake's heart races. He takes a slow step back, his mind flashing with memories of his past. He had once been the predator, stalking these very creatures for their ivory, but now he's just a man trying to save a life. The irony isn't lost on him, but there's no time to dwell on it. The matriarch trumpets again, a deafening sound that vibrates through Jake's chest. He knows what's coming. She prepares to charge, to defend her calf at all costs. Jake's instincts scream at him to run, but he knows better. Running would only provoke the herd. Instead, he stands his ground, feeling the weight of his actions pressing down on him. Without warning, the matriarch begins her full charge. Her massive form barrels towards him, kicking up dust in her wake. Jake's legs shake, but he doesn't move. There's no point. He closes his eyes for a moment, bracing for the impact. But just as she's about to collide with him, Jake does something he's never done before. He drops to his knees. It's a gesture of surrender, of submission. He doesn't know if the elephants will understand, but it's the only thing he can do. His hands rest on the ground, his body still. The herd's heavy breathing fills the air, but Jake doesn't move a muscle. He's waiting for the inevitable. Then, everything changes. The matriarch slows. Dust swirls around her as she comes to a sudden stop. Just feet from Jake. Her massive trunk swings, hovering inches from him, but she doesn't strike. Jake looks up, his heart pounding. The matriarch stands still, her eyes locked on him almost as if she's studying him. The rest of the herd gathers behind her, silent now. Their aggression suddenly halted. For a long moment, no one moves. The air hangs heavy with tension as Jake kneels in the dirt, his heart still pounding from the near charge. He doesn't dare move, barely even breathes, waiting for the matriarch's next move. She stands there towering over him, her massive head tilted slightly, watching him with dark, intelligent eyes. Behind her, the rest of the herd waits, no longer advancing, but still clearly on edge. Jake's mind races. The ground beneath him feels solid, but everything else seems to spin out of control. He's not sure what's happening, why the matriarch stopped so suddenly, why she hasn't crushed him yet. The baby elephant, still exhausted and weak, gives a soft, pitiful cry from behind Jake, but the herd doesn't react aggressively. Instead, they seem to hesitate. Slowly, the matriarch lowers her trunk, reaching toward Jake. He feels a rush of fear as the massive, wrinkled appendage comes within inches of him, but he stays still, his breath shallow. Her trunk brushes against his shirt, pausing for a moment, as if she's testing him. Jake holds his breath. This close, he can hear her breathing, can see the rough texture of her skin. The matriarch then raises her trunk again and lets out a low rumble, a sound that reverberates through the herd. The other elephants shuffle nervously, but none of them make a move toward Jake. There's something shifting in the air, a change in the atmosphere. They aren't charging anymore, and the aggression seems to melt away, replaced by something Jake can't quite name. As the matriarch steps away, Jake slowly lifts his eyes. The herd is watching him, but not with the same intensity as before. They aren't attacking. It's as if they've seen something in his actions, something they didn't expect. The baby elephant stands on shaky legs and moves toward its mother, who nudges it gently with her trunk. For a moment, the calf looks back at Jake, its small, tired eyes locked onto him. Then with a soft grunt, it follows its mother into the safety of the herd. Jake stays kneeling, his mind swirling with the realization that something profound just happened. The herd begins to move, but not toward him. They turn, walking slowly back into the savannah, leaving him behind in stunned silence. Jake watches as the herd fades into the distance, the pounding of their footsteps growing softer with each step. The matriarch leads them away, the baby elephant now safe by her side. The tension in the air begins to dissolve, but Jake remains kneeling, stunned by what just happened. His heart still races, but it's not from fear anymore. It's something else, something he can't quite put into words. He slowly gets to his feet, legs shaky from both exhaustion and the weight of the moment. His eyes linger on the spot where the herd had been, replaying the events in his mind. He should be relieved that they didn't attack, that he's alive, but there's more to it. The elephants had stopped. They had seen him, a man they had every reason to fear, and yet they spared him. Why? As he looked out over the savannah, it hits him with full force. They must have recognized him. Those elephants, especially the matriarch, had likely seen him before, back when he was a poacher, when he hunted for ivory without a second thought. Elephants never forget. Jake knows this better than anyone. But today something changed. They had every reason to charge, to protect their young from a man who had once been their predator, but they didn't. Jake's hands tremble slightly as the weight of the realization sinks in. The elephants had forgiven him. In their own way, they had seen his act of saving the calf and chosen to trust the moment over the pain of the past. It's a kind of forgiveness he didn't expect, especially not from creatures he had wronged so deeply. Standing there alone by the riverbank, Jake feels something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The world looks different now. Quieter, clearer. The man who came here was a hunter, a poacher with blood on his hands, but the man walking away is different. He's been given a second chance, not by people, but by the very creatures he once harmed. As Jake starts his journey back to the village, the sun dipping lower in the sky, one thing is certain: his days of hunting are now over. From now on, he'll live differently, with respect for the life he once took for granted. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.